Hazacostas and Marie Hamilton for the World of Midnight. Give it up!
Guten Tag und herzlich willkommen. Thank you, Gamescom. Thank you for coming out for this panel where we're going to talk about the world of Midnight, the story, the zones, the cultures, and the places that you'll go. I'm Ian Hazacostas, Game Director on WoW.
Hi, I'm Maria Hamilton, Associate Design Director on WoW. I'm super happy to be here.
And so today we're going to talk about story, cultures, delves, dungeons, and raids. So let me just kick things off with a quick recap of the stories so far, what brought us here. So we began the World Soul Saga around a year ago and began telling the largest, most ambitious story we've ever tried to tell in World of Warcraft. It all began with whispers, visions that the champions of Azeroth were beginning to experience, that ultimately led Thrall and Anduin, among others, to a certain sword in a certain place. We investigated, we tracked those visions down, and ultimately they led us to the mysterious land of Khazalgar, where we deployed the floating city of Dalaran, and that didn't go so well. We were in fact ambushed by Xal'atath and her Nerubian allies, where Xal'atath wielded the Dark Heart artifact to drain the power of Dalaran, capturing Khadgar as well, and destroying the city. Over the course of our adventures, Xal'atath thwarted us several times, but Alleria was able to ultimately perceive the power and the importance of the Dark Heart. She struck out at it, damaging it. This severely disrupted Xal'atath's plans, as well as freeing Khadgar. He was mortally wounded, but Anduin was able to step in and save him. But that disruption led Xal'atath to seek out the aid of one Gallywix. Now, the Dark Heart is this incredibly powerful artifact, originally crafted by Neltharion with the aid of the goblins. So who better than some goblins to repair the damage? But she should have found some more trustworthy goblins, because Gallywix, of course, had a plan of his own. And the Dark Heart ended up falling into the hands of Shadowguard Ethereals, who aimed to use it to bring back the Void Lord Demencius, a threat so great that it even forced Xal'atath to set aside her goals and work with us for a time to stop his rise and the inevitable devouring of all worlds. Now, we have defeated Demencius, at least on story mode, Raid Finder, normal, and heroic. I think Echo is actually working on Mythic around 25 minutes from here right now. So is Method and Liquid. But would you believe that upon Demencius' defeat, Xal'atath was not, as it turns out, on our side. And so she claimed the power of the Void Lord Demencius, ascended to become one of the most powerful beings the cosmos has ever known. And now, as we move into Midnight, she is set to launch an assault that will plunge our world into darkness, that will extinguish all light unless we stand against it.
All right, well, let's start off talking about our heroes and our foes. So starting off, we've got Turalyon, Eretor, and Alleria. We've been following Alleria's journey for a bit here. We know about her feelings about Xal'atath, and she was right all along. We also have Turalyon, her husband, who will be an important part of Midnight as a representative of the light. So at the very end of the cinematic there, when we see the light coming in response to Liadrin's prayer, the army of light has arrived, and so have the players. We also will be called by the light to come and join that battle. Eretor, of course, is their child. He also is a paladin, and he is very supportive and understanding of both of his parents. He's trying to understand the void influences that Alleria is dealing with, as well as the strong call to light that his father has. So he's a little bit in the middle of the two. So they are very important to our story. And of course we have Xal'atath. Couldn't go very far without Xal'atath, our very cool villain. She seems to do whatever she needs to do to achieve whatever her goal is. She's now stated what her goal is. She's going to wipe us off the planet. She's going to take Azeroth. She's going to take all the power for herself and bring down Midnight. So looking forward to seeing what's happening with Xal'atath. Wasn't really expecting the Army of the Light to show up there, as you could tell. She seemed a little surprised, but she's got plenty of forces and she's very powerful at this point. We also have a Liadrin. She is she's the Blood Knight matriarch. She's obviously a very powerful paladin. She's the one who has called upon the light to come and save the day. And she is going to be very important to our efforts to push back the Void. She does not have a strong liking for the Amani trolls, and that will become important. We have Orwena, who we met back in the War Within, the Heronir. We met a few of them, not a lot. And as you probably know, we'll be going and seeing more about their culture and their race. Orwena is going to have an opportunity to teach us about her people and what they care about, what their interests are, their culture. And she is one of the youngest of her race, actually. She is not an elder. There are elder Heronir, much more knowledgeable and wise. She follows the voice of her goddess, and that has taken her into places that we have been able to find her at last. We have Umbric and the Void Elves. This is an opportunity for the Void Elves to really come into their own, having been banished essentially from Silvermoon and their kin, essentially, because of the void taint that they feel that they have. Umbric is obviously trying to pull his people together, and he has a lot to contribute to our efforts to face off against the Void. We have Zuljara and Zul'Jan, grandchildren of Zul'Jin. Zuljara is the chieftain of the Amani. Zul'Jan is her greatest advisor and brother. They are going to be giving us an opportunity to experience the Amani culture, not as enemies this time, but as sort of friends. They too are having slight void problems, and they need some assistance. Needless to say, the Blood Elves are uninspired by that request, as they aren't on best of terms. And then we have the Void and the Light, arguably the biggest conflict here between two forces. The Void we have been fighting against, the Light we have been fighting with. But extremes of either are problematic, as you might imagine. So there will be some issues between the two, and also issues between people that are Void-based, like Void Elves, and the Army of the Light Paladins, for example. So that's another important sort of contrast to watch during Midnight. And now let's look at the really pretty pictures, go into the culture and zones. So our first culture to talk about is Blood Elves. Those of you that don't play Horde may not know a lot about the Blood Elves. This is your opportunity to rectify that. They were High Elves before adopting the name Sin'dorei to represent and reflect upon the death of so many of their own. The Scourge, did a terrible number on their home area in Eversong and Ghostlands, and they have been recovering ever since. Their need for power, their need for energy and magical strength is well known. They are very, very tied to the Sunwell, which is, of course, exactly what Xal'atath is going after. Here's some pre-alpha footage for you that we just captured a couple weeks ago. I want to point out that there's not a lot of creatures spawned yet because, as I said, we're pre-alpha. But it's looking really good. It's exactly like what you might expect from Eversong. Eversong and Ghostlands have been combined into a single zone, Quel'Thalas. Because it's a relatively small zone. They were small zones back in Classic, and now with skywriting, we want it to feel fun to move through them. But as you can see, it's the usual sorts of architecture that you would expect: the lofty, glistening towers, the amazing foliage and manicured gardens, and there are some things that have healed. The Dead Scar, in particular, has totally healed and is no longer there. Not all parts of the zone, however, have healed up. There are still some areas that look a little bit iffy, this being one of them. Essentially, it's the same place you're used to. If you're a Blood Elf, if not, here's your opportunity to check it out. check out the zone. Reimagining it was super fun for us. Artists had a great time. Had the opportunity to make it just a little bit bigger, a little bit better, and increase the fidelity of the zone. Hope you'll enjoy it. We're going to move on now. And this is Silver Moon City. It is enormous. I would say that because it's a hub city, there's a small section of Silver Moon that's been set aside as a sanctuary area where Horde and Alliance share that space. But the majority of the city is Horde, and Alliance is kill on sight, as you would expect. Essentially, our world building team had a wonderful time. It's all new assets. The city walls are all brand new, all to top fidelity. Everything has been remade. We've got places you'll recognize. You should feel real nostalgia if you've had any experience here. We have Murder's Row, which you're going to see a dungeon related to that as well. But overall, it's the same glorious, wonderful Silver Moon you love, but with much, much better, much more recent fidelity art. And once this stuff gets filled in with our spawning, it's going to look amazing. And yeah, there's a little void storm problem going on. And let's talk about the Amani, because they're the next culture we're going to want to talk about. They were previously enemies. If you happen to be around and played the raid in Zulaman, then you're familiar with the Amani and sort of their culture. We've had an opportunity to expand them because we created an entire zone for them now. They are very proud people. They worked very hard to get their land. They had some important work to do. The Zandalari basically said, well, you can have that land if you defeat this, giant, evil, horrible thing. And so they did that. And they were a great empire for a period of time, but they've fallen sort of into a lesser status now. They've sort of lost their touch with the Loa. They're not as close to them. Being right on the border and having a lot of conflict with the Blood Elves makes this a little tricky for them. They too are having some void problems. This is Zulaman. We've built the entire zone out. You will see the raid space. It still exists. Those of you that did that raid will recognize those buildings, I expect. This is a very old forest, very tall mountains. It's temperate. It rains a fair bit. It's got eagle, lynx, Janalai. It's got dragonhawk, bear, Loa, temples still, but the Amani haven't been really worshipping the Loa for a long time. A lot of stuff is overgrown and abandoned, and Zuljara is going to need to find a way to help her people survive the void onslaught that is coming for them. As you can see where the void has come in, it's not looking quite so good. And let's move on to the Heronir. So we met the Heronir early on in the War Within, but we weren't really sure what they were about. We didn't know their story, and we didn't know their connection really to the rest of the world. We'd never seen them before. They're ancient guardians of the Rootways, and they're led actually by a council of elders. They have a very direct connection with their goddess, and Orwena has a very strong direct connection, in fact, with the goddess, which led her to leave her people and go out into the outside world, something that they don't tend to do and they don't really look kindly upon. So, as you probably have heard, they are unlocked as an allied race. You'll be able to make your very own Heronir. We're going to have great customizations for them. They look pretty awesome. I have to say, I've seen the Druid forms. We weren't able to show those yet. They are really awesome. One of them is a pangolin, which just looks amazing. They are prone to wearing this bioluminescent paint, and they have different kinds of patterns they can put on their faces and chests. So really cool looking, really awesome. Not really elves, not really trolls. Those of you that have kind of seen them previously, played in the War Within, know that they take a bat form when they want to travel. So that's the Heronir and their customizations. And this is the zone, Herondar. It is a fungal jungle place, and it has all of the roots of the world trees all converge here, all are twisted up in this area, this pocket area, which isn't really directly connected to anything. The people, the heron deer travel through the rootways themselves, so they're able to move around the world. One of the interesting things about this zone is it has a place called the Rift of Aln, and from the Rift of Aln will issue forth creatures that their goddess dreams. And sometimes they are horrific and horrible things, and some members of the Heronir take an oath, give up their connection to the goddess, and serve as wardens of that place, preventing those horrible creatures from attacking. They also have this place called the Den of Echoes, which we're looking at now. This is where the Heronir remember their past through paintings, and you will have an opportunity to learn some of those stories by interacting with those paintings. And let's talk a little bit about the Void, since we also have that as a culture. You can see people you recognize on one side and people you probably recognize less on the other side. Void creatures in general are very predatory. They are interested in eating anything smaller and weaker than themselves and taking that power. The Dominar, which are sort of the strongest, are a bit different. They are very, very intelligent, very smart. And the Dominar actually have a bit of a hierarchy that they've developed, again, through conquest, through beating on and dominating others. And you will deal with Dominar as one of the stronger representatives of the Void. Of course, Xalatath is part of this group. Cultists who follow Xalatath and follow the Void. We've already seen the Shadow Guard as well. There's even cute little ones, but they will try to eat you, so don't think that they're all that cute. And this is Voidstorm. This is a mysterious world that has been formed by the Void. Everything here is hungry. Everything will eat you given opportunity. This is all about gaining power, becoming stronger, becoming more powerful, and eating the next thing. Essentially, we have a big raid here in Voidstorm. This is where we will face off against the Void with the Army of Light and attempt to make sense of what's going on here. But there are some gorgeous pictures. I would say the best blues and purples ever, probably, happening right here. But generally speaking, a really, really cool zone to explore. And you can be pretty sure that they're enemies, all of them. All right, and I'm going to hand off to Ian for delves, dungeons, and raids. Thanks, all.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, all those amazing zones that you just saw, of course, are going to contain delves, dungeons, and raids. So really, delves are one of our proudest additions to War Within, and they are, of course, here to stay. And so you have 10 new delves coming with Midnight, scattered across these zones. I think we've learned a lot of lessons. We've taken feedback on what worked and what didn't. And so these are going to have all the same layers of variety and replayability that you knew in the War Within, but more layouts, more enemies that we found work better in this format, and less of those that don't. A couple of these delves are actually going to be outdoor spaces where you can use your ground mounts to get around more easily. And we're really happy to be able to integrate them into the stories of the zones, because now that they're such a proven format, we can really have quests lead you through them more regularly. Now, of course, in addition to these 10 delves, there is an 11th Nemesis delve, where you will track down the Nemesis that has been plaguing you over the course of the first season. And taking the place of Bran Bronzebeard will be a new companion, none other than our good friend Valera Sanguinar. Now, she will aid you in many of the same ways as Bran, and hopefully stand in fewer things that you'd prefer she not stand in. So, dungeons. We have 8 new dungeons coming in Midnight, 4 level up, 4 max level. And again, we always try to showcase fun gameplay and innovative looks at the dungeon format. We'll be returning to Magister's Terrace, which has really been reimagined and expanded from last we saw it. We'll visit some new locations that weren't accessible before, including a balcony overlooking the Sunwell itself. When we go to Murder Row, a corner of Silvermoon, I think for Court of Stars fans back from Legion, there are some of those vibes here, as we're actually going in undercover to investigate rumors of the use of fell magic within the walls of Silvermoon. And before we know it, we're going to be plunged into combat, and the dungeon will unfold from there. Another favorite is the Voidscar Arena in the Voidstorm. Here, at the whims of one of the Dominar that Maria was just mentioning, combatants from around the universe come together to kind of battle to the death for the pleasure of the Dominar, and we're going to be thrown into that arena as part of this dungeon. And don't worry, especially in Mythic Plus, as waves come at you, you can control the pace of the waves. Of course, we're going to have a mix of 4 of these dungeons, as well as 4 returning fan favorites in the first season of Midnight. But unlike in War Within, all 8 of these dungeons will be available in Mythic 0 during that pre-season period right at launch. Another fun dungeon that we'll be venturing into is Windrunner Spire, where for those of you, particularly lore fans out there, we're going to get to learn more about the family history and the tragic background of the Windrunner family. This is a wing dungeon with plenty of mysteries to uncover. Also be the Dream Rift, a one-boss raid in Harinar. And then shortly after that, we'll be able to take the fight back to the Sunwell and the Gates of Silvermoon in the March on Keldanas. So really excited to have different environments, different settings, and really integrate the raids into the stories that we're telling more than ever before. Because with story mode, all players can experience these epic moments, and we can offer a wider range of environments for guilds to challenge themselves against. So that is a quick look at the world, the setting, and what's coming in Midnight. Thank you, Gamescom.